Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I'm Yuli. I'm Yuli MAHMUDAH from English Education 2018. Here, I would like to present my research proposal, which is entitled Developing EFL Developing Materials for EFL University Students Listening Comprehension Using Podcasts. Okay. Firstly, I will explain about my introduction, particularly the background of the study and the research questions. In my background of the study, I explain the importance of listening for language acquisition and communicative competence, in which some previous studies, such as from Rose 1994, Noonan 1998, from 2004, Masalimova 2014, Ahmadi 2016, Kuzakia Methods 2016, and Shahabuddin et al. 2021. They say that listening is a crucial skill in language acquisition and communicative purposes due to innate human acquired language from hearing others, and it serves the language learners' input for their language insight. Second, I explain the importance of listening comprehension for communicative competence. Here we have to know that the role of listening is assisting the communicative competence in speaking skill, which it promotes an effective and meaningful oral communication. Thus, to reach the communicative competence in listening, the language learners should acquire the comprehensible input. The students or language learners may get the comprehensible input by connecting what they have listened and then comprehending the meaning to the passage or text of the listening practice. This process of understanding the meaning of listening is called as listening comprehension skill. It is particularly by Masalimova et al. She asserted that teaching and learning listening comprehension is very necessary in advancing foreign language communicative competence, such as linguistic competence, speech competence, cultural competence, cognitive and educational competence, socio-cultural competence, and adaptive competence, and also discourse competence. The next point, I explain the difficulty in listening comprehension. It is explained by Ahmadi 2016 and also, Ahmadi 2016 and also Shahabuddin et al. In 2021, in which they stated that mastering a listening comprehension skill is difficult for EFL students, which it needs more efforts from the teacher in making the efficient listening exercises. The next point, I explain about the necessary in developing EFL listening comprehension materials. Thus, it is necessary to define the right materials, such as developing listening materials and the right learning media to facilitate the EFL university students in the process of teaching, learning, listening comprehension. The next point, the importance of authentic materials for listening comprehension. To develop communicative competence in listening comprehension skill material. To develop communicative competence in listening comprehension skill materials, the materials have to be aimed to foster the students' communicative competence. or communicative aspect, such as during conversation with the native speakers, in which it might motivate the EFL students in learning listening comprehension skill. According to Musafi et al. In 2012, in overcoming this situation, the implementers should develop authentic materials, which is more like native listening materials. And so the the teacher or implementer should develop the authentic materials. On the next point, I explain about podcast as a part of technological enhancement, provides authentic materials. Podcast is seen by the researchers as as an appropriate media for the EFL university students in acquiring listening comprehension for the academic context due to there are some previous researchers such as from Rahman et al. 2018, Yustara et al. And at 2019, and Shihabuddin et al. 2021, which have investigated that podcast is an effective media platform in teaching both listening and listening comprehension. For the last point of my background of the study, podcast has been proven to be effective for listening comprehension skill from some previous researchers. In teaching learning English, podcast is considered to be effective media due to it has authentic materials in which it may bring the student to get closer to the target language and easy to modify for the teaching learning process. Okay, for the research question, I have mentioned two research questions. The first one is, how is a good material for EFL University students listening comprehension using podcasts? And also, what are the university students' perceptions about the listening materials and using podcasts as a media platform for the listening class? Okay, for the next slide. For the next slide is the literature review. I discuss more about developing EFL material, listening comprehension, technology used in English language teaching and learning, and also podcast itself. And also for the next slide, I discuss about the methodology. For the research design, I use the mixed method approach. Mixed method approach is a combination between the qualitative and quantitative approach. So it makes, and we also use the design research as a research design. So the research design is using mixed method approach with design research. Research subject, population. Here population I will take fifth semester students of EFL English education student in State University of Surabaya. The sample is purposive sampling, so I will took one class as a representative for the investigation. And the next one is the instrument. I will use the first questionnaire. The second is listening comprehension test using podcast with worksheet that has been developed by the researcher. And the third instrument is the second questionnaire. And for the data collection techniques, In the first week, the researcher will give the questionnaire for for the sample in order to analyze and explore the potential solution. This stage is called as analysis and exploration. For the next week, the researcher will conduct a listening comprehension test using podcasts and worksheet that the, as the material that has been developed by the researcher in order to see whether the product or the material is work or not. This stage is called as design and construction in design research. Okay, after the test, the researcher will send the second questionnaire to see the students' perception about the worksheet and the podcast as a media for their listening class. This stage is called as evaluation and reflection. After that, the researcher will evaluate and reflect the product or the material that has been developed to get the refinement. This stage is also called as evaluation and reflection. Then, after the product or material is refined, it will be tested and refined again to the sample until the result of the product, the product, I mean the worksheet is fixed. The final product will contribute to the practical value in solving the occurring problem in the field, and it will useful for the pedagogical theories and also the development. For the data analysis, since the researcher will use the mixed method approach. For the qualitative data, the researcher will use pattern coding and sequential analysis. For the quantitative data, the researcher will use t-tests, and the last, the researcher will interpreting the result. Okay, that's all for my research proposal presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.